After one roller coaster of a season that saw the Pitt Panthers start 7-0, then proceed to lose 6 games in a row, what is the expectation for this Pitt team going into next season? I think they have a very high potential. They are returning and they're starting quarterback after an incredible freshman season in Eli Holstein, bringing back their starting running back in Desmond Reed for his senior season. They do have a lot of leadership on this offense, but what made Pitt dangerous last year was their defense. I don't know if they're losing enough people on the defense where it's really going to be compromised. If they are, this could be a rough stretch of games for this Pitt team, but sky's the limit for this Pitt team. But with their schedule, who knows what they can end up finishing as. There's a lot of questionable games along the way for this team.
Yeah, taking a look at a few of those. First one is going to be that road trip to West Virginia. But I mean, other than that, some other really difficult conference games. You got Louisville, road trip to Florida State, and then look at this end of the year with Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami. Not an easy way to end the season. Might be a little bit reminiscent of that losing streak they ended the season on last year when we get to those games. But we'll come back to that a little bit later. 7 of the games are at home, 5 on the road, and this is only a schedule difficulty of 5 out of 10.
Starting the season off, you got 2 games at home in the non-conference. First off is Duquesne, 100% chance here. I only know of Duquesne from their NCAA tournament run. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but remember them upset. I think they upset someone, and if they didn't, they were pretty close. But 100% chance for their football team to lose in this one. And then the Chippewas of Central Michigan. I'm also saying a 100% chance that Pitt walks away with a win here. The Chippewas have not been a competitive team in a little bit. In a little bit, there was a little bit of a stretch where they had some good games, but I think those days are behind them. Then they have their first road trip, which is the backyard brawl at West Virginia this season. West Virginia losing a couple key guys on the offensive side of the ball. Pitt, like we said, returning their starting quarterback and starting running back, losing a couple guys at the wide receiver position. But since it is a rivalry game and it is on the road for this Pitt team, granted it's just right down the road essentially, it could go either way in this one. Rivalry games are fun for that reason, especially this early on in the season. So we're gonna have this at a dead even split, a coin toss, 50% chance for either team to get the victory in this rivalry game going into a very early bye week for this Pitt team.
After that, they're going to be playing Louisville, and the Cardinal are losing their starting quarterback, Tyler Shuff, to the NFL draft. It's going to be a little bit of a different look for Louisville in 2025. But that being said, they are the overall more talented team. Even though Pitt has this one at home, we are going to favor Louisville in this matchup. Only a 35% chance for a Panthers win. Next up, though, you got Boston College. And I know some people think that we're going to see a bit of an improvement from Boston College this season in year 2 under Bill O'Brien. O'Brien took the Ohio State offensive coordinator job for about a week before taking the Boston College head coaching job. And overall, he didn't do terrible last year. You know, they looked pretty solid early on. They beat Florida State, but then their starting quarterback went down with injury, and they ended up being pretty terrible the rest of the season. Second year under Bill O'Brien, maybe we'll see some improvement, but I still like Pitt a little bit more. I think Holstein's definitely the better quarterback here, and we have the Panthers at about a 70% chance to pick up a win here at home. Then you're going on the road to face Florida State. After one of the most disappointing seasons, I think, ever compared to expectations. 2 years ago, we saw Florida State go 13-0 and get snubbed from the playoffs. And then last season, they went 2-10. It was just a horrible, horrible season from Florida State. They look to be a little bit better this year, but I, yeah, this is a tough game to predict. I am going to favor Florida State. They have the home field advantage here, and I think Pitt is going to have a chance in this one, Not going to completely write them off, but for right now, I think the Noles are a little bit better. So only a 35% chance for Pitt to win. Then it's a road trip to Syracuse. Kyle McCord has gone on to the NFL draft, and they are going to be replacing him with LSU transfer Ricky Collins. Now, hopefully for Syracuse, they'll see a repeat of what we saw last year, where they kind of just throw the ball a ton and hope for the best. Lead the league in passing yards and completions, but also have a ton of interceptions. Didn't work terribly last year, so probably going to be their same strategy for 2025. I don't really think that's going to work against Pitt. The Panthers, like Connor said, have a really solid defense last season. And I think Eli Holstein can really match what we're going to see, even if Syracuse is just throwing the rock a ton. Pitt's going to be able to compete with that. Maybe it'll be a shootout, but I still like Pitt here on the road at about a 60% chance to win. Next up is NC State. And this one, we are going to give Pitt a 75% chance to win. It seems a little bit high, but given the ease of the two games around this one, I think that might actually help them out a little bit with this one. I think Eli Holstein's the better quarterback here. NC State, out of the Syracuse and Stanford and NC State, out of those three, NC State is definitely the best team. We're still giving Pitt the highest chance to beat them, though. This game is at home. And in the end, like I said earlier, I really like Holstein more. So I do think that the Panthers are going to win this one. I wouldn't count NC State out completely. This is definitely very high upset potential, but we are going to go Pitt here at about a 75% chance to win. Then it's a road trip all the way across the country to Stanford. This game shouldn't be particularly difficult. Stanford, not very good whatsoever. So we do like Pitt here for sure on the road at about a 65% chance to win heading into their second bye week.
Coming out of that second bye week starts their gauntlet of a schedule to finish off the season, beginning with hosting the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, the runner-ups in the college football playoffs last season. Notre Dame losing Riley Leonard to the NFL draft. It's a very big focal point in their success last season, but they do have Jeremiah Love returning as their running back, who is looking to make a statement and make a case for his Heisman candidacy potentially. And I think he's got a legitimate chance in this one, especially against this Pitt defense. Yes, they're solid, but if they're losing a couple key guys, that might spell some doom for this Panthers team. I think overall, the Notre Dame defense is going to be way better and going to be able to keep Eli Holstein in check. And even though Notre Dame is losing a couple key guys on the offensive line that are going to have to protect a brand new quarterback, I still think that Notre Dame churns out elite offensive lineman talents for the NFL year after year. They're going to have plenty of guys that they can plug in that are going to be absolute studs. So a 20% chance for the Panthers hit. Following week, they go on the road to face Georgia Tech. If you've seen our Georgia Tech video, we are extremely high on this Yellow Jackets team. We think that with the ease of their schedule, along with returning Haynes King at quarterback after last season that saw Georgia Tech look like a very, very good team, a team that almost beat Georgia in several overtimes. This Georgia Tech team has a lot of potential, and I think with this game being at home against a Pitt team that is going to be a little bit young in the wide receiver room and maybe is losing a couple key guys on defense, this is going to be an interesting one, maybe a little bit of upset potential. Maybe we're overrating Georgia Tech a little bit and underrating Pitt. But at the end of the day, I do think at this point in time, Georgia Tech is going to be the better team. So we're going to give Pitt a 25% chance to get the road win here. Then they finish the year off with a home game against the Miami Hurricanes. Miami losing their starting quarterback in Cam Ward to the NFL draft, looking like he might be the first overall pick, competing with Shadur Sanders for the first quarterback off the board, along with a bunch of other highly talented draft picks. This Miami team, though, went out and got Carson Beck from Georgia to step in as their starting quarterback. While that is still a downgrade from Cam Ward, Cam Ward's in a league of his own compared to Carson Beck. Carson Beck still is a very solid quarterback, has plenty of experience, has championship level experience, and has the potential to lead this Miami team to a playoff spot potentially, but it has to be significant improvement compared to what we saw last year. Last year, Carson Beck did not look like himself. We were saying at times that Gunnar Stockton might have actually been the better chance or the better quarterback and given them a better chance against teams in the playoffs. That game against Notre Dame was with Carson Beck. Might not have been the same thing. Maybe it's a little bit worse. Maybe Carson Beck throws an interception or two and Notre Dame really takes advantage of it. So maybe we're hating on Carson Beck a little bit. I think he's still going to have the opportunity to revitalize his career in Miami, especially after what we just saw Cam Ward did. It's really going to come down to the Miami defense in this one. But that being said, I think Miami is still a step ahead talent wise compared to what Pitt will be having. So, compared to the other two games they had prior to this, it's going to be a little bit more favorable towards Pitt, but still favoring Miami in this one, giving Pitt a 35% chance to get the win here.
Yeah, that's just a brutal stretch to end the season for the Panthers. I mean, the Louisville game sticks out. The Florida State game sticks out as, those are probably 5 games that we're going to see Pitt lose. And I mean, on top of that, NC State, good possibility they lose that one. Maybe at West Virginia. You never know what can happen in that game. So, we could see Pitt somewhere around 5-7, or I think more likely a 6-6. But this schedule's it's pretty difficult. So even though they had such a strong start to last year, they're not going to have as strong of a start this year. I don't see really any possibility that we have a 7-0 Pitt in 2025. But again, they're probably not going to lose their last 5 games because Stanford is one of their last 5 games. So that's a bonus at least. But yeah, I'd say somewhere in the range of 5-7 to 7-5, most likely going to be 500 for Pitt.
I think that's where they'll end up as well. I think the Louisville game is a tough one, especially coming off that bye week and that being the first ACC game. That nothing needs to be said about that last stretch of games. That's absolutely brutal. Syracuse game, I know we have them favored, but I think that's an interesting one too, especially since it's at Syracuse and it's after that abomination of a game by Syracuse last season, where what was it? Kyle McCord threw pick sixes on back to back throws, I think. Something like that. I think he threw 5 or 6 interceptions in that game, and Pitt dog walked the Syracuse team. But maybe Syracuse plays with a chip on their shoulder in that one. Florida State, if they revitalize their team and their program, then maybe that's a tough one. It's not an easy ACC schedule. I can tell you one thing for sure. They're going to win their first 2 games to start the season off 2-0. I don't think Duquesne and Central Michigan stand much of a chance, but rest of the way outside of Boston College and Stanford, it's going to be tough sledding for this Panthers team. So I think 500 is where we'll see them end up. 7-5 is, I think, the highest I go. Maybe 8-4 if Eli Holstein really becomes that guy, but I think a bowl game is pretty attainable, but I wouldn't say it's guaranteed.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think, like you said, 8-4, I would say is the absolute max for Pitt, and that would take, playing pretty much a perfect season, no errors in any of these games. There'd be no room for error. 2024, like Connor said earlier, they won their first 7 games, lost the next 6, including that heartbreaker to Toledo in the bowl games. Their projected win total for this year is going to be 6.6 and 5.4. However, we are projecting them to just go a little bit under that at 6-6. But again, 7-5 is definitely possible. It just means avoiding, any slip ups on that schedule. The Vegas over under 5.5 is a little bit favored towards the over. So Vegas also likes Pitt to make a bowl game in 2025. Uh, I'd agree with that pretty much. I think there's a pretty solid chance that we'll see the Pitt Panthers once again in a bowl game this season. We'll be updating these predictions again later in the summer, so make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our future videos, and we'll see you then.